first, but he called me and he said, hey, I've got some really, really big news. I have to come on the show, please, today on the 4th hour. So he's going to join us for about 5 or 10 minutes and break down some really, really interesting stuff. And then we've got a fellow named James Knox who's going to come on at the bottom of the hour. And he is a very, very interesting character with a military background in engineering, a lot of knowledge on the internet and its functions. We're going to talk about, if you guys remember, the old internet kill switch. So in 2011, it was announced that the internet kill switch was approved by Homeland Security, a Senate committee. The idea that they could just shut down the internet and end free speech on the internet and things like CISPA and all that. Well, we're going to talk to Mr. Knox about his background in engineering a lot of military infrastructure for internet-related stuff and what he thinks about the internet kill switch and why he thinks that it may not be so easy and that we may have pretty much free reign and access on the internet for a long, long time to come, no matter what happens and what corrupt entities try to mess with it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Dr. Group here in about 2 seconds, and we're going to talk about vitamin D and sunshine, because I was out on the lake a little bit ago, and I generally am a vampire for most of the year. But of course, I want to put on some organic sunscreen, right, so I don't get burned. But what people do is they spray the really, really terrible sunscreen, and they think they're keeping themselves safe, and they don't get any sun, and they get no vitamin D, and it's an insane thing that goes down when they're giving themselves cancer with these chemicals, trying to prevent cancer from the sun. It's a really, really insane situation. But Dr. Group, you called me today. You wanted to come on and talk about this. What's on your mind? And thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always good to be on. I mean, it's summertime right now, and I see parents slathering sunscreen on their kids, slathering sunscreen all over the place. The dermatologists are telling people that they need to apply sunscreen to the face, to the body, 2 times a day. And what's happening is we're in an epidemic right now with vitamin D deficiency, and vitamin D deficiency is one of the root causes for the majority of diseases that are out there. But I've really had a lot of research requests lately into skin cancer and is sunscreen actually safe to use. You know, we've been telling people don't put on chemical sunscreen for a long period of time. The sun produces 2 different types of rays, the UVB rays and the UVA rays. And it's interesting if you trace it back, because you know how I like to do the research and try to figure out, is there really a conspiracy behind this sunscreen, or is there some plan? Well, there is. If you look back into the late 1960s and when sunscreen was first coming about, there really wasn't that many cases of skin cancer before the 1960s. And still to this day, if you look at the countries that are along the equator where the sun is the hottest and the rays are the strongest, they have practically 0 cases of skin cancer. So tracing it back as to how were sunscreens marketed, how were they developed, the American Dermatology Association teamed up with some pharmaceutical companies and individual manufacturers and was spending $1 billion a year in fear campaigns to try to convince people that the sun was bad. I mean, the sun is the source of all life. If it's not for the sun, nothing could survive. Yet we have a society right now that believes that the sun is bad. And
the sun is bad and air is bad. Everything is bad for you that is natural, right?
Yeah,
now obviously everything in moderation. You don't want to go out, you're going to get sunburn. It's terrible for you. Clearly, I've gotten sunburn. But there are people that are so afraid of the sun that they refuse to go out in the sun at all without like SPF 500 sunscreen on. I have people tell me that all the time. Well, don't go out into the sun. That's bad for you. You get skin cancer. What do you mean don't go out in the sun? How do you think we got this far as human, as a race? Do you think we just stayed in our huts forever and we never went outside one time? Clearly, the sun has so many different benefits, not even just the vitamin D, but the different rays that hit you and the way your body absorbs it and everything like that. People have been told, though, that it is evil. It's like the root of all evil. They've been told that over and over again.
Yeah, the strange thing is, though, if you look at the difference between the UVB and the UVA rays, the UVB are actually the rays that you need to produce vitamin D in your body. And that's from usually 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The UVA rays, or the penetrating rays, those penetrate past the epidermis. So the UVA rays, both can be dangerous, don't get me wrong. The UVB, I say UVB for burning, you know, that because that will burn your skin fairly rapidly. And when your skin becomes burned, it is bad. But the UVB rays are also the essential rays that we need for vitamin D production. The UVA rays, though, are the dangerous rays that penetrate all the way through the epidermis of the skin. Those are the ones that penetrate through your windows, actually, and can cause skin damage, and those are the ones that are associated with the majority of cancers. Well, guess what? The sunscreens that they didn't want to produce sunscreens that would block both of those rays. All the sunscreens out there block the UVB rays, the ones that are necessary for vitamin D production. And they don't even block the UVA rays. The UVA rays are the ones that cause skin cancer.
Well, that's very helpful.
They knew that was going to take place because they wanted more dermatologist visits. And actually, since the introduction of sunscreen, by the way, dermatologist visits have gone up exponentially 10 times since the 70s. And since the introduction of sunscreen, there's been more cancer, more skin allergies, more skin reactions than ever before in the history of the world. So my advice to everybody out there, and what I really wanted to let people know today, is don't listen to this false information that's being spread out there. You need vitamin D. That's why I've been on the show talking about the importance of vitamin D before, and that's why we developed the Winter Sun. It's really hard to even get vitamin D. There's been studies that have been done on lifeguards now that are out in the sun all day long. Yes, they're probably wearing sunscreen. That's one of the reasons why, but they're still deficient in vitamin D.
So basically, people are putting sunscreen on. They're going out in the sun for a short period of time. I see people do this all the time. Spray themselves down with the sunscreen, go out in the sun for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes. They're not even getting the rays they need to create the vitamin D in the first place. And then they're vitamin D deficient, but they go out in the sun all day. They have a tan, so they think, oh, I get so much vitamin D, because 15 minutes is like 15,000 IU of vitamin D in the sun if you can produce it in your body naturally. You don't have the sunscreen on. But then they go in and they get tested. You know, I get my blood tested routinely for trace minerals and vitamins and stuff. And they always say, wow, you're like the only person ever to have high vitamin D levels. I say, well, this is Austin, Texas. People go out in the sun and they say, yeah, but everyone has sunscreen on. No one goes out without sunscreen ever. They put it all over their face. And I'm definitely not saying don't use sunscreen. I mean, use it for sure, especially if you can be out in the sun for a long time. But you can at least go for 5 minutes. You can at least go for 5 minutes in the sun and get some real sun on your skin before you slather on all the sunscreen and get the vitamin D. Right? Or use a supplement or something, because it's better to get some vitamin D for 5 minutes of evil sun exposure. You know, the very evil sun that we've all been programmed to hate and fear so deeply. It's actually good for you, clearly in moderation. And, you know, don't know all the statistics about everything, but vitamin D prevents cancer deeply. So there it is.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you pick up a bottle of sunscreen, I actually went to the store a couple days ago and just looked at the pharmacy, and it is amazing the amount of chemicals and phthalates and endocrine disrupting chemicals. Oxybenzone is one of the ones, avobenzone, all of the same ingredients in sunscreens. There's probably 20 or 30 toxic cancer-causing endocrine disrupting chemicals in every sunscreen that's out there. They're probably one of the worst things. The skin is the largest organ. You're outside, you're in the heat, your skin cells open up, your pores open up, and all those chemicals go directly into your bloodstream. They bypass the detoxification of the liver and ultimately can cause all kinds of problems. They're estrogen mimickers. They can cause obesity. They can cause problems with your hormones, allergies, tumors, digestive system problems. And not only that, sunscreens contain high levels of fragrance. And you know, fragrance is the hidden word for phthalates. And fragrances can contain up to 1,500 different
it means nothing.
Chemicals.
Yeah, it's just a catch-all term for everything, just like, you know, certain natural things. So in closing, Dr. Group, thanks for coming on the show. This is really important because everyone's gone out in the summer now and they're getting sun, lathering up the sunscreen, especially the spray nanoparticulates, the sunscreen.
And I have some natural solutions, by the way.
Yeah, so what is your answer for this? What is the solution, in your view, to fight this?
So the solution is to switch to natural organic sunscreens, and there are some available which are paraben-free, fragrance-free, vegan, phthalate-free, that don't have any of those toxic cancer-causing chemicals in there. Another thing that you can do, which has been used for centuries, is just wear a light, white, cotton long-sleeve shirt. Cotton has a natural SPF factor of about 25. Be responsible in the sun, like what you were talking about, Anthony. Go out, don't let yourself get burned. Put the natural sunscreen on, but also allow yourself to get some. And there's two oils that I really like. One of them is carrot seed oil, and the other one is red raspberry seed oil. Both of those, believe it or not, are tremendously beneficial for skin health, anti-aging, and they both naturally have an SPF factor of 28.
Right on.
So
excellent.
using
Well,
some
Dr.
of those,
Koop, we
and then
head to
drink
break.
lots of water.
Excellent advice. Thank you so much for coming on. And everyone really needs to listen to this summer. The sun is strong. We'll be right back. This is The Alex Jones Show. Coming back with a little Led Zeppelin. They just won a court case that they own the rights to the beginning of Stairway to Heaven. Interesting case. So, this is The Alex Jones Show. I'm Anthony Gucciardi, and there's been a lot of talk about Brexit today. And last night when it was declared that Britain did, in fact, cast their votes and they wanted to leave the EU, everyone's saying Brexit, 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 analyzing certain factors of it, the monetary values and everything like that. But wait a minute. What is the EU? So here's an article that I saw today just before I came on the show. What is the EU? Trends on Google in the UK as the country votes for Brexit. So this is the second biggest trend right now. Second top question in the UK. What is the EU? That's what people in the UK are searching for right now on Google. The second top question, what is the EU? It says, this is from CNET. The UK has brought the Brexit debate to a clear resolution. The country has voted to leave the European Union. But while 72% of Britons who have cast their vote appear to have done so with confidence, their search histories tell another story. Thanks to Google Trends data, it's possible for us to see what doubts and questions voters typed into the search engine in the privacy of their own homes. Not all of them inspire a vote of confidence. Others are telling of their reactions and concerns with the British public now that Brexit is a reality. So it says, some of the frequently asked questions cropping up in Google from within the UK include, quote, what is the EU? And, quote, what happens if we leave the EU? The former was the second top UK question on the EU after the results were officially announced. The latter saw more than a 250% spike after the polls closed. So maybe we shouldn't be talking about Brexit. Maybe we should get back to what is the European Union? What is the United States of America? What is this planet we're on? What is this world? Where am I? What is my name? How do I eat food? How do I breathe air? Am I in this galaxy? Are there aliens here? Am I a dog? These are all questions we should be asking instead of talking and pontificating about the results of Brexit and the implications on the global policy and economics and all that. We should be asking, what planet am I even on? Am I a dog? I mean, these are the questions. What is the EU? All right, we got to get back to the basics here, guys. We're getting ahead of ourselves. And I bring this up as a little humor, too. And also one of the search queries was how to move to Canada in the UK after the European Union vote. But I bring this up because I want to highlight a point. Truth is that a lot of the time, people don't listen to the details. And if you've ever heard me host the show before, you know I always say, we always lose because we don't pay attention to the details. We're a headline society. We read the headlines. We ask if we are on this planet, what is the EU. But we read headlines. We don't get into the details. We don't get into the crux of the matter, the research, the actual information. What happens is we kind of let things slide with, for example, on the internet with CISPA and SOPA and all that. Everything just restricting everything. The big banks coming in, eluding stuff. We kind of just let it happen. And then we get mad, though, when the results come in. It reminds me of this article. IMF warns the U.S. over high poverty. The U.S. has been warned about its